Are you ready? Stand by.
Welcome to 3GS Show, episode 33. I'm your host, Dave Hartman, and this week we have an information-packed episode featuring Mo Shaw of Team Seekins Precision. Mo and I discuss some amazing topics, including 3GS sponsorship, how to get sponsored in 3GS, how to maintain your sponsorship, and how to perform for those sponsors. Before we get into the episode, I want to thank you for downloading and listening to the show. The 3GS Show is a weekly podcast dedicated to the fastest growing shooting sport, 3GS. Each week, I'll be bringing you a new episode featuring an awesome 3GS athlete, a manufacturer of multi-gun specific products, and sometimes both. Now, there's a couple cool things going on in this episode besides the amazing interview, and that would be at the end, you're going to hear an announcement and the winner of the Jansen Jones Team Geisel giveaway of $3,000 worth of gear. Now, if you didn't win, it's totally cool because I have another awesome giveaway. Mo reached out to Seekins Precision before he came on the show here, and he put together a sweet giveaway of a really cool piece that I know you're going to love. So listen all the way to the end for the details on how to enter. And and while you're waiting for all that, you're going to listen to an awesome episode with Mo Shaw. And the overall theme in this episode is creating great relationships and being a good person. So if you're just getting into the sport, definitely go out there and shoot. If you're mid-level in the sport and you're looking for sponsorships, this is going to give you a great how-to guide. And if you're a current sponsored athlete, this may make you evaluate some stuff that you're doing on your own, and may make you reevaluate some stuff. So listen all the way to the end because there's some good stuff coming. Now, please join me in welcoming to the show, Mo Shaw of Team Seekins Precision. Mo, thank you for joining me on the 3GS Show.
Thank you for having me, Dave.
Well, I'm really excited to talk to you here. I know just a little bit about your background, and I know a pro bull rider, and I can't wait to get into that. But tell us a little bit more about you. 3GS shooter, ex-pro bull rider. Who's Mo off the range?
Mo off the range is a full-time farrier, father of three, is very involved in his children's life, and I've been married for 20 years this month. But I want to say something before we go any further. I was a steer wrestler, not a bull rider.
Oh, excuse me.
It's okay.
Wow, that's terrible. Did I call you like a soccer player when you play football?
No, but there's some bull riders out there that might take insult to me being referred to as a bull rider. So,
Gotcha. I apologize. Yeah, so I knew pro rodeo, but I guess in my head I just stick to bull running. So my apologies.
That's okay. Everybody, my bull rider buddies from years back and still that I'm in touch with, they always used to say steer wrestling is just like coleslaw. It's something you do before you get to the main course anyway. So.
That's awesome. I like that one. So 20 years married. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And so you said you're a full-time farrier, and I have no clue what that is.
I'm a horseshoer.
Horseshoer, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. How long have you been doing that?
About 20 years.
And is there like a farrier school you went to, or did you go to an apprenticeship or something?
I started apprenticing. Rodeo brought me into it. I wanted to be able to repair a shoe on my steer wrestling horse if I needed to when I was out of rodeo. And I've got a bachelor's degree in aeronautical science, so I never expected for this to be a career path. I just kind of fell into it. So I apprenticed with a gentleman named Jim McElroy who had been a veteran farrier for many, many years. And that's where it all started for me. And after a while, a couple people would ask me to shoe their horses. And I'm like, I'm not comfortable with that, but I did anyway. And then I actually went to school at a horseshoeing school that was in Clemson, South Carolina. And I did some continuing ed, and I did an internship under Dr. Scott Morrison at Rood and Riddle Equine Hospital in Lexington. And, it's like anything else in the veterinary or medical world, you continue your education. So I'm always going to, annual seminars and clinics, trade shows, that type of stuff. So it's always a constant learning process.
how cool is that? You start out with a bachelor's in aerospace and end up that in this route, which is kind of like the complete opposite of aerospace, right?
Absolutely.
It's amazing where life takes you.
It is. It is.
I'm sorry. The juxtaposition there is just stuck in my head, and I'm like speechless here. That's awesome. So we're catching up with you. You're in a hotel room in Virginia, and you're shooting a match this weekend. You want to tell us what you're shooting?
Yeah, it's the FNH 3-gun championship and Peacemaker in Glengarry, West Virginia. It's an outstanding match. This is my first year here, and it's been an absolute treat. Although I did make Larry Houck angry because I was going above 10 miles an hour kicking up dust this morning on the way to the first stage. And the rule is if you're going too fast, you've got to pay $25 speeding fine to the MGM youth camp. So I owe Larry $25.
Wow. Yeah, the range I shoot at regularly has a rule like that too, and they're like, hey, we'll ask you not to come back if you speed because apparently it kicks up too much dust for the neighbors, and then they end up calling the city, etc. So it's a real concern.
Well, the speed limit signs, in my defense, say 15 miles an hour. For this match, it was a match rule that I missed. I didn't hear at the meeting that it's 10 miles an hour just for this match. So
because of the volume or something?
I guess because it's been so dry and dusty. I don't know. But
I got
$25 to the MGM youth camp's worth it. So
yeah. At least it went to a good cause,
right?
right?
It makes me want to speed around more and donate to the camp.
That's awesome. So Mo, you started out steer wrestling as your hobby. When did you make the transition to competitive shooting, and how did that transition happen?
Well, excuse me. I've been shooting since I was a kid. Was into hunting and stuff like that. Well, I quit in about 2006 from rodeo. The economy, took a dive, and when that happened, sports marketing, which we made the lion's share of our living off of, declined. They pulled back the money, and that's when I got out of it. Plus, my wife had our second child, and I wanted to be home instead of being on the road, for 200 days out of the year. I wanted to be, part of my children's life. So that was the deciding factor. Prior to that, I played collegiate football, and I've always done something competitive, and that was a part of my life that was missing. And I actually saw Robin Jansen's 3-gun outlaw video, and I went, that is cool. That is absolutely cool. I want to do this. Well, a friend of mine from high school, Chris Garrison, had shot 3-gun, and I called Chris up and I said, Chris worked at one of my sponsors in a place that I work periodically at Firepower Arms in Mason, Ohio. I said, I want to do this, Chris. Will you teach me? And so he took me out. First time I was there, he's like, listen, don't worry about shooting. Just here, you can mark the scorecard. So first time I came out, second time I came out, I was shooting a match. It was fun. It was okay. And then I found out I did okay. I did well. I didn't tank. I wasn't DFL. And, I was like, this is pretty cool. And I went back to another club match 4 weeks later. And I said, I want to be at the top. And that's where I kind of realized I missed this competitive part of my life, and, so I said, this is something that I want to pursue. And now go a year forward, 6-8 months forward, I'm standing at my first major match. I really have no clue how little I know. And it's at Southeast Regional at the plantation, Clinton House Plantation. And the first stage that I'm at, I'm so nervous because I'm looking around. It's Jerry Michalik, and there's all these big shooters, and Robin Jansen are there. And we had gone down to Atlanta 3-gun, because we were waist deep in snow for a terrible winter that we had in Ohio. And so we'd been running down every month through these snowstorms to go down and try to get some reps in and some practice for this big match that I wanted to go to. And everybody thought I was nuts. And I talked to some of the guys on the Firepower team into going to it. And so first stage I ever run at a major, I nod my head. I don't step in the shooter's boxes. And then I earned myself 6 procedurals.
Nice.
So the start of my major career is starts off with 60 seconds and penalties.
Oh man, my first major match ended in a DQ, so I'll take the 60 seconds of penalties.
Yeah. Yep. It was it was great. I mean, and I was hooked. After that, I was hooked. The competitor. I think anybody that has a competitive nature, and strives for excellence says, they find something they like and they're like, I want to be good at that. And I think that's a real common theme amongst most three gunners. There's a lot of them. They're just recreational guys and will go out and shoot and have fun. But for the most part, I see, as friendly, as much sportsmanship there is. It's in so many of these guys that they're like, I want to be good at this. I don't even want to be good at this. I want to be great at this. And I think it's really driven the industry.
Oh, for sure. And in the role that I have in this show, I get the opportunity to talk to a lot of people, and definitely that competitive aspect comes out again and again. And it, starts like in college or when they're youngsters, or in your case, college ball and steer wrestling, and then transitions into everything. I mean, kart racing, running to the mailbox, everything. It's that male competitive spirit, right?
Absolutely. We have to do everything for a reason.
Yeah, for sure. And there's got to be a clear winner and loser too. There can never be like, well, that was fun.
Yeah. I think that's when I started looking at the majors and going, club matches are fun and everything, but they got stuff there you can win.
Yeah, for sure.
It might, your first major, it might be a cleaning mat and a hat, but it's still, it's something to strive for.
Oh yeah, I feel silly, and I can't remember if I've told this story or not, but my first major, the one that I DQ'd out of, someone was like, "You're not going to be able to walk the prize table," and I was like, "The what?" And then they, it had to be explained to me, there was prizes. I was like, "Oh, I thought we were shooting this to see who won." Well, there's that, and there's cool stuff at the end. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. I had no clue, and I feel silly about that now. But
we early in my 3-gun career, we knew what free stuff was. I mean, that's part of the reason why we went down to Atlanta 3-gun in the winter, because we knew we had a chance no matter what at winning something, because they would raffle off. I think Noveski was the title sponsor at the time, and they were raffling off a complete upper every month. And then they also had other things from other match sponsors like Chris Beatty, and Jose and the guys down at NB2, and so you always knew you had an opportunity to win at something, even though it was a club match. You had an opportunity to win at something. So, and they always did the raffle at the beginning of the match. That way, if anybody DQ'd, they still had a shot at some gear.
Oh, that's cool.
Your kind of match, Dave.
My kind of match, yeah, for sure. Always do the prize at the beginning. I like it. So that's awesome. So, want to get an idea of what your gear setup was at the beginning there, and then tell us what you're working with now. So, real briefly, you mentioned that your second match you went to, you were shooting. Did you run right out and spend $15,000 on all the latest kit, or did you just go to the basement and grab what you had?
No, I started with a Smith & Wesson Sigma SV9E, and
sweet.
Yeah, exactly. It was a little bit sexier than a High Point, but it was, and it did the job. So that was what I started with. I built my I built my rifle because of my relationship with Firepower. We do a lot of custom builds. So I actually, built that rifle. I think it was an Anderson lower and upper, and I've just absolutely always have been in love with Seekins designs and the utility of what their designs bring to the game. So of course it had a Seekins handguard on it, Seekins comp, and I think I started off with a Rock River national match 2-stage trigger. But so I built the gun and I put a MTAC on there for my first optic, and that was my pride and joy. I still have it. and Cerakoted it FDE because that was a cool color at the time, and that's what I started with. And I went out and I bought a used JM Pro 930 Mossberg 930, and that's what I started with. I think for my holster and my mag pouch setup was the Blade Tech IDPA Revolution pack, or you just get what you need. And I didn't even have a mag pouch for my rifle mags. I had a back pocket, and
Yeah.
and that's what I started with. And my shotgun rig was I started borrowing the shotgun rig from Chris. It was a Chameleon Load 2 vest, so that's what I started with.
Oh, okay. So it sounds like a pretty reasonably priced and reasonably decent setup then from rifle, pistol, shotgun. As far as like a foray or entry level into a sport that you're not sure if you're going to go full force into.
Oh yeah, well I kind of after I shot the first match I was bit. I mean, I'm sure you hear that all the time. But the other thing was is I coyote hunt, so I knew that I'd always ask Chris like, well, can I coyote hunt with this? Can I he was my expert, and so he was like, oh yeah, you can coyote hunt with it. You'll be a great coyote hunter with this. So that was it was my everything gun, but it was geared more towards being a race gun.
Very cool. So then that was just a couple of years ago. What transition have you made as far as gear to what you shoot now?
Well, the JM Pro didn't do the job for me. There's so many attributes of that shotgun that I love. I think it still has the best trigger out of just about any shotgun I've ever shot, and I love the safety and everything like that. But I ran into reliability problems with it. And I love Craig Outson's 3-gun, his podcast, when he talked about so many. The shotguns are shotguns, and the ammo is so influential, whether they run reliably and everything. And he's like spot on. But so then once I got rid of that, and I've been running this gun for probably a year and a half. I bought the Remington Versamax Competition Tactical, and I ordered it. I think we had the first one in our area of the country, and I've run it ever since, and I've beat it and abused it, and it's a tank, and it takes it, and I've had to put a couple springs in it just from wear and use. More than anything, but it's been a great gun. I'm on the pistol side. I'm running a Glock 34 that's been tuned by Branham Tactical and cut slides, lightened, Zev Fulcrum trigger. So it's the plastic fantastic with all the go fast stuff on it, and my rifle is I've gone through. I guess this is my third set of 3-gun rifles in 3 years. I was blessed enough to be picked up and become a part of the Seekins 3-gun team, and I'm running an 18-inch Seekins rifle with it's on their SBA lower, and then my 14-inch gun that I run factory with is the Seekins Pro 14-inch model. It's got a pin comp on it, so it's a great base layer.
Yeah, I was checking them out earlier and doing a little bit of research, and those are some pretty sweet looking rifles.
Yeah, they're pretty sexy. I mean, and they're tough. They perform, and Glenn and everybody there does a great job. And you can anytime you have something that people actually care about and take pride in, the end product, it shows. And precision isn't in their name for no reason. I mean, their stuff is right. I mean, it's right out of the box, and you can take it and you can go do anything with it. Those guns aren't 3-gun specific. They've been making 3-gun ready rifles, I guess, before 3-gun ready was a cool name. Prior to them, I think JP was the only guy people really doing it. And the Stag came out, and that took a lot of the market share, but Seekins has been doing it great for a long time.
Yeah, the really cool thing about that too is they just have to change the name if they already had the base rifle there. But checking out the photos on their website and stuff, it looks like they actually care about design, which is really cool.
Oh yeah. They're like their handguard. A lot of guys don't like it. because of the geometry of it, but I find it to be more advantageous than a hindrance. And especially in this game, because it's got the flat sides on it. If you're shooting off of, the side of a barricade or a post, you've got a nice flat surface, and you can get good purchase on the hand guard and get a good weld into it. And they're great hand guards. I mean, I've been shooting that hand guard since I started, and I love it. I love it. I think it's a lot, and they've improved them over the years. They made them a little bit lighter. Now you can get them with M-Lock, or you can get them with the key mod, and they've got some other stuff. They've got some I guess thinner profile handguards coming out. Those should be coming up soon. They've got a lot of cool stuff coming out here in the near future, probably the next couple months.
Plus, you could say that you've got the Walking Dead rifle.
Absolutely.
Which is important.
Absolutely. I'll need to get some zombie response team stickers.
Yeah, it was pretty cool when I was watching the last season of, I think it was the last season when they introduced the Seekins rifle. But yeah, when the first time she pulled it up, I was like, holy crap. And like they actually got someone who knew what they were talking about, or knew a little bit about weapons this season.
Yeah, I don't think Glenn and Katie even knew about that until somebody told them about it at SHOT Show. I don't even think they knew it was on the show.
Oh man, that's a nice surprise. The most popular television show in the world has got your gear in it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So Mo, as far as like loading the shotgun and belt and holster setup, what are you working with there?
I'm running Invictus Practical, the 2.8s. Right now I also run the AP Custom QL8s, like for shotgun matches. When I need, multiple things. I like I love the pull of the AP Customs. They're such a fast pull, such an easy pull. But I've run into problems. Maybe I'm not the smoothest runner in the world. I've run into problems with getting some bed grabs on those, but I mean, they're great. The Invictus Practical, I've been really happy with them. They're tough, they're durable. I get good grabs off those. It's the pull's a little bit tougher, but when you're in a stage, I don't notice the difference. So I use a combination of those, and then I also have the Turk vest, 24 round vest that I wear, for high round count stages. For magazines, of course, I run hex mags exclusively for my rifles, and then with Springer Precision base pads. So that gives me a 35 capacity, and if I need more than that, I'll usually run a Springer Precision base pad coupler. And on my Glock 34 mags, I run Terran Tactical base pads. It's kind of an industry standard anymore.
Yeah, for sure. I got to check out those Springer base pads when I was at Hex Mag, and it's got a pretty decent interface on there. It looked like some good quality machining. Yep. Unfortunately, Jake wouldn't let me take it with me.
Oh, we'll have to talk to Jake about that. I'm sure we can get you a couple. But the new thing on my rifle is I just actually the day before I left for FNH, I received the new hex grip in the mail, and that's pretty cool. It's got 3 adjustable angles on it, grip angles on it, and it's hex mag, so it's got the sexy, hexagon pattern on it, and it's compatible with the grip tape and everything. But the only other thing I've done to my rifles is I added a AR gold trigger, which is just totally upped my game. That trigger, they're rifles, and you wouldn't think the trigger matters that much, but for distance and precision, that trigger has really, really helped me. I had a 400-yard target today, and I broke the shot, and I had the confidence when I broke it that I hit it, and I can't say that with the other triggers that I've run that I could have done that.
Yeah, I hear that a lot about AR Gold. I think I'm going to have to, look at my buddy Bill's rifle again. He's got one, and I wasn't impressed with it the first time, but maybe it's time to take another look.
Yeah, I had the same experience too. I was kind of like, but you really have to run triggers in order to, get an appreciation for them. For me personally, I've run Timney, I've run some of the Geisley triggers, a couple of them, and but all those triggers, I had almost like a learning curve. I had to learn the feel of the trigger and the break of them, and once I did, and once I got with this Air Gold, I mean, it really helped. And then the biggest thing it helped me with, I mean, hoser stages, you can give me a mil spec trigger and I'm fine with, but when, the precision, the shots that matter, your triggers is huge. I mean, it's huge.
Yeah, for sure. I run a Geissele myself, and it was a huge difference stepping up from mil spec to that. So it's yeah, I mean, trigger is like one of the most important components for the rifle for me.
Oh yeah.
So Mo, let's swing wide here and completely change the topic, or maybe it's a similar topic. Who knows? After I interviewed with HexMag, you and I started chatting a little bit, and you brought up a really interesting topic that I think is pretty cool, and it's something I see a lot of people doing wrong, and even saw it, again at the range when I was at a match last weekend. And I want to see if we can get people to do it right. And you have a very unique perspective on it, and the topic is sponsorship.
Yeah.
And representing companies.
Absolutely.
And the reason that you have a unique perspective on it is because you've not just dealt with sponsorship for 3Gun, you dealt with it in pro rodeo as well. Now, to kick it off here a little bit, can you give us an idea of how it worked in pro rodeo, and then we'll transition into how it works in 3Gun.
Well, pro rodeo at the time was in its heyday, and we were more valuable commodities because of the television exposure, and it was more mainstream, and it was easier to get crossover sponsors. Purina. Purina would sponsor lots of people. Wrangler's clothing. Everybody wears clothing. So, the whole Western wear thing. People, trucks, Dodge trucks, Chevy trucks, Ford trucks. So there's a lot of crossover there. And with being on a major network like ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN Ocho, whatever pro rodeo was on at the time, it gave a lot of value to these cowboys and cowgirls. And there was a couple odd things that I noticed. There was two kind of different camps in pro rodeo, and I see that a lot in shooting, but it's different in shooting. There's a very, very small percentage of people that are going to get paid like full-time type salaries that they're going to command those in the shooting world right now. But in pro rodeo, you could get paid to do it because of the television coverage. And when I started looking at, rodeo versus 3Gun, and I'm going, shooters are more valuable than they realize, because there's so few venues for these manufacturers anymore, because we're shunned by the mainstream media. It's very difficult to get advertising time. I mean, everybody that's in the industry heard about the Daniels Defense commercial with the Super Bowl and stuff like that. So, you're limited in magazines, and, we're kind of, it's kind of viewed as kind of dirty. And or in a negative light, I should say. And it's quite the contrary. It's one of the most wholesome, family oriented things that you can do, go out and shoot. So with pro rodeo, you had got people that were out there getting product in exchange for promotion because they just wanted free stuff and it was cool to wear brands. And then you had the pros that were out there promoting the brand, helping build brands, and getting paid well for it. And it was definitely interesting, and I was younger, so I looked at things differently, and a lot of that came with the television exposure and success, and it's easier to do with success, but in our sport, in 3Gun, you can do well and be successful and build a brand and give a huge return on investment to these sponsors. Unfortunately, I see a lot of people that, they just want free stuff and a cool name on their shirt, and they go out and they run the stuff, and they think their job's done. It's not. It's a lot of work. It's a ton of work. It's a part-time job, really. So, but the question is how to do it. And the way that I found to do it, or the way that I project it, is I never ask a company what they can do for me. I want to know what I can do for them, and I quantify it by saying, listen, this is who I am. This is where I go. This is how many people I shoot with, in front of and expose in different states. And, the professionals that are in charge of marketing and sales and that type of stuff, they know, they recognize that. And, you have to have the character to, hold up your end of the deal. And, that's kind of it in a nutshell. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but if you can quantify how you're going to ensure that a brand is going to get a return on their investment in you, then it's a win situation, because ultimately the company or the brand that you represent has to get more than they're giving you in return.
Yeah, that's definitely, it seems like a basic thing, it's got to be a win-win situation for people. So taking it back into the rodeo context,
mm-hmm.
because I think it helps people to get like an idea of like a real world example that may not be like near and dear to the heart, sort of that 100-mile rule thing. What exactly were the brands that you worked with in your in your days, and what were what was the agreements like? Did they expect from you, and what was it that you provided them?
Well, a lot of times it was photo shoot. A lot of times it was television coverage. Some of the agreements that I had with my sponsors were based on looks. So if I was going to a televised rodeo and they did an interview with me, and their name that was on my shirt was legible, I got paid $100. Which $100 doesn't sound like a lot of money, but when you're at a 2 or 3 day rodeo, and they show you 4, 5, 6 times, all of a sudden that starts racking up. We did a lot of other things. The things that I enjoyed, we would go when we'd go to towns. We'd go to towns, Huntsville, Houston, wherever we'd go, and we'd stop in and we'd stop at the children's hospitals, and these young people that couldn't get to the rodeos, and we'd bring it to them. We'd come out, just as contestants, and we'd come out and spend time with them, bring them programs and that type of stuff. Things like that build brand loyalty, especially with the youth. And so that's very valuable. When you walk into some place and you give a young man or a young lady that's very ill, and their parents appreciate it and recognize it and support the brands as well, because you're coming in there and you give them something as simple as a bandana that says Wrangler on it. Or a straw hat, or whatever the case is. We do stuff like that. The printed media was really big. Social media was way off in the future. Facebook was, I don't even think it was thought of then, but it was.
Did you have a MySpace account?
No, I did not.
Oh.
At the time, I thought MySpace was for like 13-year-old girls, so I wasn't doing MySpace. No MySpace, but for the most part, it was that, and you were expected to, you had your black and white slicks, and you were expected to stay after rodeos and sign autographs, and as I used to say, it was shake babies and kiss hands. And sign autographs and stuff like that. And a lot of that was the same, because even if you weren't a world champion, these fans paid to come and see you, and they look at you in their eyes, you're a champion. So you have to conduct yourself and handle yourself as one. And so we did a lot of that. I don't know if that answers your question fully. But then then you also had vinyl and graphics on your truck. So you're rolling down the road with hauling horses, and you're a traveling billboard. So those miles create looks, and looks are valuable in advertising.
Yeah, and there's a lot of real estate on a horse trailer too.
Absolutely.
So Mo, if I catch you at the range, do you still have those glossies where I can get an autograph from you?
I might have some at home, but I don't have them at the range.
No Seekins Precision Mo Shaw glossies?
Not yet.
Maybe next season.
Maybe.
We mentioned one of the common things that people do wrong when seeking sponsorship is, the not creating the relationship. Just they're in it for the product and then they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
What are some other things that you see people doing wrong?
Conduct and character, not just on the range but off the range. If you're at a match, you're not just representing that brand, because eventually you're going to be associated by face recognition or name recognition with that brand. So you've put yourself in a spotlight. And if I was taught a long time ago by a mentor in pro rodeo, and he said, if you're going for the party and you're not going for the competition, stay at home. And that resonated with me, because it's very easy. This is fun for us. This is a hobby. This is fun, and it's very easy to go off and have a few beers, and a few beers turn into more beers, and all of a sudden you're not conducting yourself in a respectable manner. And that's a reflection, whether you're wearing your match shirt or not, on your sponsors. And I see, unfortunately, I see too much of that at these matches. I shouldn't say too much of it. I mean, most of the people here, but I see it, I see it all too often. And it's unfortunate, because people just don't recognize it. And I don't know so much if they don't care, but they just don't recognize it. And, you have to, that doesn't mean you have to be self-conscious. It doesn't mean you can't have a good time, but you just have to, have fun within reason. The other thing that I see with the big mistake is, and people in any sport like this will come and go real quick. And I see a lot of people that don't hold up their end of the deal. And what they don't understand is I feel like I have a responsibility to everybody in our community. And if I don't hold up my end of the deal, or I don't do it well enough, I still want to leave the partnership that I've fostered over however many years, or a year, or 6 months, or however it is, with not a bad taste in their mouth about the sport. Because sometimes, and I learned this early, with some of these companies that don't know the sport, they don't understand it. I'm really lucky, because Glenn and Katie, the owners of Seeking Precision, they shoot. They're shooters. They understand that finishing on the first page of a lot of these matches, you did well. A lot of people don't understand that. They understand the exponential growth of this sport. They get that. So that relationship makes it easy. But if you're with a young fledgling company, then you have to kind of handle them with kid gloves and take them along and be patient. I've seen a lot of guys get frustrated, angry, and just say, that's it, I'm done, and they quit and they walk away from it. Well, they just completely burnt that brand for any growth or any avenue in three gun. And I've seen that with I've talked with reps from a few different companies, just casually, through the store and stuff like that. And so, I mean, I guess that's probably the biggest mistakes. Biggest mistakes as far as approaching companies is sending them an email that's a novel. You have to be, like we talked initially, you have to be able to quantify your value and what you can offer. And that first and foremost, and then let the companies decide if you're a fit for them, if they're interested in that, if they find value in what you can offer. And then you have to come through. You can't, you got to walk the walk. You can't just talk the talk. So a lot of guys I've had send me emails, and they're novels, and they don't need to know your life story. They don't have to know that. They need to know what demographics you're covering, like how many states, where your ranges are, what your tentative match schedule is, where you're planning on going, what are your goals, where do you want to be, a year from now. How many shooters do you shoot in front of? And that doesn't mean going to a local match and because you shoot in front of 90 shooters every month, and 90% of those 90 shooters are the same shooters every month. That doesn't mean that you shoot in front of 1,000 people a year. Shooting in front of 1,000 people a year is going to 20 different matches in 20 different locations, with 50 different people. And so those are some of the mistakes that I've seen. I've helped friends help friends and people that I've met on the range, secure partnerships and stuff like that. Interestingly enough, and we talked about this before you started the show, there's a lot of sports marketing groups like Palmer and Lawson, and there's a couple other ones that are coming together to help represent shooters. And I think that is really indicative of the growth in this industry. When businesses start springing up in order to promote and help and support not only just the industry side of it, but the shooters as well, I think that speaks volumes of where the sport is now and where it can go.
Yeah, exciting times for sure. When you hear about people coming in, selling pitchforks and Levi's rather than just mining gold.
Absolutely.
So one of the things you mentioned was people ruining the relationship because their sponsor maybe doesn't really understand the industry. It seems like a good opportunity to educate your sponsors if they're new into the industry, if they're not like Seekins, like you mentioned, or been there since the beginning, like JP.
Yeah, it definitely, and if you find yourself in that situation, the biggest suggestion I make is get the people out to the match, invite them to come out and shoot with you. If you can get them to a major match, that's even better just to watch. But if you can get them out to the club match and you can see the enthusiasm, you can see the grassroots shooters, you can see the 5, 10, 15, maybe 20 new shooters that show up and get into this. And, it's showing your value. It's showing the fertility of the sport, because it's growing so fast. Sometimes in some places it's growing too fast and people don't know how to deal with it. But if you can show that to these manufacturers, retailers, suppliers, whomever, whether they're in the firearm industry or not, my big thing is crossovers. If we can find people outside of the sport that are crossovers, because we can't continue to keep going back to the well, because it's going to go dry. Everybody knows in general. There's some companies that are still booming and doing well, but after the Sandy Hook panic, the industry sales and everybody bought a bunch of stuff, and now it's gone down and it's going to level off, and so we're in a lull period, and so it's incumbent upon us to try to find different venues, outside of the firearms industry, and I think it could be had, but we have to communicate as shooters, as potential partners, partnering with these brands, what the sport is about. And highlight the great things about it and get them out there actually on the range. Because I found that once you get them out there on the range, it opens their eyes and they go, wow, this is really, really cool. This is really dynamic. Look at all these new people and not only the new people, but the big thing that I've noticed over the past 2 years is it's becoming more diverse. And, not just with youth and women shooters, but I'm seeing more and more African Americans. I'm seeing more and more Asian people, more and more outside of your typical, your stereotypical shooters.
Old white guy.
Oh yeah, old white guy, young white guy, that type of stuff. And the diversity is growing, which to me is really important, because if the diversity is growing within the sport, then that means that's going to secure not just the 3-gun, but the firearm industry in general in the future. So it's
for sure. And this being like you said, a popular dynamic sport, when you get people in front of it and they see how exciting it is, but also to your point that you made earlier with the people in the industry and how incredibly nice shooters are and how welcoming, and the 99% of the people that you meet out there, you would trust your puppy with and leave for a weekend. That I think speaks volumes to this community and would help us as well.
Absolutely. I mean, there's people and friends and relationships that I've made in this business that I wouldn't have a problem at all leaving my kids with them. And, my kids are my life. So, I mean, that says it all.
Oh, for sure. Well, we see like a guy like Lance Dingler who travels with Nate Staskowitz, and he, mentored Tim Yackley on a squad at Rocky Mountain 3-gun. No one blinks at that stuff. It's like just, yep, okay, take that kid or bring that kid back, let him play with guns. But it's the type of people that are in this community that make that possible.
Absolutely, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. And at first, the first time that I saw the Yackleys, and I think Andrew was running around, was doing something. I'm like, oh my goodness, but I didn't know anybody, and I really didn't know the community. And at first, I was kind of set back on my heels, and now I'm like, I watched, and I'm like, well, yeah, I'd love to be able to bring. I wish my family could come with me. I'm envious of Greg Jordan, not just because he's a phenomenal shooter, but over the summer, his family's always with him. I'm like, this is great. I need my family with me.
Oh, that's fantastic. So to expand on another point you mentioned earlier, Mo, when you spoke of conduct, it seems like another thing that people don't think about is social media. A lot of times I see conversations where, maybe guys are thinking like, well, it's just us girls looking at this because, we're having a conversation here, but they don't understand like the impact and the reach of like a Google search for Enos forums or for Facebook or something of that nature.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. I mean, even if you have a for lack of a better term, like a fringeist mentality when it comes to politics or something, you got to rein that stuff in. You can't put whatever pops into your head up there when you're representing brands, because even though it's a personal page or it's your personal thought or whatever, it's still reflective upon those brands. And you would think that that's common sense, but it's not. It's very uncommon. I think as social media, we're so detached. There's a lot of things. I mean, everybody knows there's a lot of things that you'll put on social media that you would never utter in public or to somebody personally, but yet you'll just post whatever. You can't do that. If you're going to play this game and you're going to partner with companies and brands, you have to have some common sense. And I think when you approach these potential partners, they kind of vet you in those ways. And there's people out there that I know that are phenomenal shooters and they're good people, but sometimes they lack judgment when it comes to social media, and will post inappropriate things on. And inappropriate things on social media is obviously a judgment call, but there's a spectrum for sure. Absolutely, and it's up to the company. You may not be a fit. Some companies may want a go to hell guy with his hair on fire, and just real loud and flashy and abrasive and stuff like that, because that's the brand and that's the energy that they want to project and everything like that. And that might be a perfect fit for that company. Other companies may want, somebody that's, a family guy. A guy like me is, a family guy. I believe I have morals and values and that type of stuff. And that's the kind of company and the person that they want to represent them, because they have confidence that you're going to represent their brand and their company the way that they would. So a lot of times it's got a lot to do with fit. Once you quantify where you're going to be, where you're at, and be able to communicate it to them, and it's in their hands. They're going to say, this is a good fit for us. This is a good fit for our brand. So how do you as a shooter decide like what company is a good fit for you? Because, from what you're saying there, you're not that, go to hell, hair on fire kind of guy. And if there's a company with that wants that sort of image that, you get into talks with,
How do you vet that from your perspective as a shooter and protecting yourself?
Honestly, I mean, usually you'll know that coming up. I mean, you mean they'll have you'll have. I mean, it's just like they'll look at us. You know, if that's their marketing plan, their marketing scheme. You know, you should be familiar enough with that brand and their products before you even approach them, that you know what they're projecting. I mean, you know, and if it's not a fit, I mean, you know, so many shooters are just out there and they'll blanket everything and they'll just anything to get a bite, you know, anything to get, you know, get their foot in the door or whatever. And that's great and everything, but you gotta believe in what you're using. If it's garbage and you're using it, you know, it's not reliable, it doesn't work, you know, it doesn't perform as advertised, whatever the case is, you don't need to be using it, you don't need to be promoting it. So you got to believe in what you're using, because you're ultimately selling it. You know, you're a sales rep. I mean, that's, you know, and if you don't believe in what you're selling, you can't communicate all the good attributes of whatever the product is, service, or whatever it is you are, you know, so you shouldn't even touch it. But you know, that's I think, for me anyway, I could see that a mile away. You know, I'm going to know the products. I'm going to know, you know, what they make, how they make it, what their image is. I'm going to know that ahead of time before I even approach a company. And the sponsoring thing, I didn't touch on this. I kind of fell into this. It all started with an optics company that said, "Hey, listen, we want you to try this optic. If you don't like it, send it back to us." And I said, "Well, you know," I said, "I'll tell you what, I like the optic. If you know," and they're like, "This is," so I said, if you want, we've got a team, and if you want to sponsor all of us, you know, we've got team shirts. We'll put your name on it. You know, just product in exchange for promotion." That's where this whole sponsorship thing started for me. And then everything started coming back and things started happening. And then the opportunity with Seekins presented itself, and I said, "Oh my goodness, this is a dream." You know, I mean, even if I can only wear their brand for a year, I'd love to do it. I mean, I've always loved their products, and it happened, and here I am. And then there's another point that I wanted to bring up. I struggled with it when I first time I put on the Seekins shirt. All of a sudden, I felt all this pressure on myself. And that's just me individually. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I've got to win. I've got to win. I've got to do all this." Well, once I got over that, I started shooting better and everything. But you put too much pressure on yourself and you have too many expectations, perceived expectations, you end up hurting yourself in the long run.
Yeah, I can imagine that you're sitting there, you know, in the starter's box waiting for the standby, and you're thinking, well, I've got, you know, their name on my shirt. I need to perform here. I've got a squad of 9 guys watching me. And they're going to think I'm nothing if, you know, if I don't perform and I'm wearing the Seekins shirt.
Absolutely, it's true. I mean, you know, there's when you start getting names on your shirt, you know, there's expectations. You know, sometimes they're unfounded. You know, I'm a middle upper pack guy. You know, I'll put a stage together and look like a pro. You know, once a match. But you know, that's what we're all striving for, is to put an entire match of those types of stages together. And but you can't let that, you really can't let that get to you. And it's hard to say it's not going to get to you, but it does, because if you take pride in what you do, you're going to feel that pressure. And I mean, that was probably one of the hardest things for me to do. Comparing it to rodeo, I was very, very, very competitive. I could win anywhere I went. And so wearing somebody's name on my shirt was an afterthought, you know, because I'd been doing it so well. I'd already gotten to the top of the game, so it was kind of backwards. You know, here I am in the middle of the game, you know, climbing my way up. So it was a little bit different.
Yeah. Plus, you know, no offense, but you were a little younger at the time, and so you didn't have like the knowledge or the wisdom to understand what the gravity of the situation was. Maybe.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, because like especially with Seekins, I looked up to guys like Shiloh Mattoon. I'm like, man, that guy, I want to shoot like that guy someday, you know, or Bert Thompson and True Pierce and those guys. You know, I mean, these guys, they're good, they're very good. they're exceptional. And to be associated with, you know, guys that wear or wore that brand, you know, it'll put some pressure on you.
Yeah, for sure. So we talked about, you know, things that that people do wrong when seeking sponsorship, and we kind of touched on a few of the topics of like best practice in that manner. What would you think are like the you know, top like 3 to 5 things that you need to do as far as a shooter who's representing a sponsor?
The biggest thing is you have to be approachable. You have to be approachable. You have to be available. And what I mean by available is that doesn't mean you're just at the range. You have to be available. You have to be, you know, you have to introduce yourself. You have to say hi. You have to be, you know, just like you would anywhere else. You know, you have to be approachable. And it's important for a number of reasons. One, because you obviously want to get, you know, product exposure. But two, you know, it's the right thing to do. I mean, that's the way it's a matter of sportsmanship. And if you, you know, if you got that, like for instance, with me, we were here in Glengarry, and a guy in my squad at the Eastern Regional, his rifle went down. He was having some gas block issues. And I said, "Here, man, run my rifle. I've got another rifle." He was running factory. Run my rifle. You know, we've got one more stage. We'll get your rifle fixed afterwards, and you know, and do that. And he was, you know, and you know, because he came up to me and he's like, "Hey, man, do you know what's wrong with my rifle?" And if I wasn't friendly, and if I didn't, because I see this all too much at the beginning of matches, you know, people are so uptight and they're so cold and they're so, you know, nerved up and everything like that. And I'm just the opposite. I'm the kind of person that's never met a stranger. You know, I'll go anywhere in the country. Never met a stranger. Now, my wife, however, is more of an introvert, and sometimes she hates that about me because I'll befriend anybody, and
And drag her into it
absolutely,
too, right?
And she's like,
that's a part I'm sure she
oh
loves.
yeah, she's like, oh my gosh, here we go, you know. So, but you know, but that's, you know, those are probably the most important things. The other thing is when you're on the range and you're in a competition environment, you have to handle yourself like a champion, win or lose, DQ or whatever. Act like you've been there. I've seen guys throw temper tantrums, fight, argue, you know, over calls, over you know, procedural issues. Even go as far as beating guns on props. You know, you can't do that kind of stuff. And my buddy's probably going to hang me for saying that because he's going to know who he is. But
you know who you are. You know what you did.
But you know, but you can't do that. You know, as mad, you know, any competitor, you know, you get frustrated, you get mad, you get upset. But you can't do that. You have to handle yourself with dignity and dignity and respect, and really extend that sportsmanship to the people that you're with, because it's going to matter. You're going to see that, and you're going to see that in the returns on sales, because when people have respect and they like you, and they see that type of stuff, you know, they're going to be more committed to those brands. And it's a psychology. I mean, it's just the way the human psyche works.
So Mo, you know, that's good stuff right there, and it's stuff that anyone can take and put into practice, whether, you know, they have like a logo on their shirt, or whether it's just a, you know, a Budweiser T-shirt or something like that. And of course, they're not shooting for Budweiser. But anyway, so I want to switch it up here, and we're in September now, and we've got just a couple months here until you're going to be waist deep in snow. What is your match schedule for the rest of the year look like?
The rest of the year, see, I've got what I've got. I've got to finish this match, and then FNH, and then see, where do I go from here? I got Fallen Brethren. I've got the Atlanta 3-Gun Championships, the Valor match, which is an outstanding match. It's a charity match at South River Gun Club, and Chris Palmer and Paul Code run a great match. It's on southeast of Atlanta. It's a charity. It's all charity. I think there's 5 or 6 charities, veterans charities involved. If anybody can make it, it's going to be an outstanding match, and it's for a great cause. Let me see here. Fallen Brethren, those two. 3-Gun Nation Nationals in Tulsa, and Hard as Hell in St. George, Utah.
So the 3-Gun Nation Nationals, you actually had to get an invitation to as well. So that's an accomplishment right there.
Absolutely. I made it to the pro qualifier earlier this year. That was one of my goals. A lot of guys were like, "Oh, you're not there yet. You're not going to make the cut." I'm not afraid to lose. I'm afraid to try. And that's just always been my nature. And whether I was last or I was one spot out of the cut, didn't matter. I was going to go and I was going to shoot it, and I was going to do the best that I could. And that's what I intend to do at nationals. I'm a year better, and I made a lot more mistakes. So I've learned from my mistakes, and we'll see what I can get done at nationals.
Excellent. So, Mo, we've talked a lot this this little call here, and I feel like we've used Seekins as as an example quite a bit. So this has been like an hour-long commercial for Seekins. But you told me something that you've got in your pocket before we started talking here, and why don't you take a minute and tell the audience about it?
Are you talking about the SBA 15?
That's what I'm talking about.
The good people at Seekins want to give away a SBA 15 billet lower with a matching upper, and we'll do all that stuff through the 3-Gun website like you typically do, 3-Gun Show website, and hopefully it'll find a very, very nice home. It's the same lower receiver that I use on my 18-inch gun. It's nice receiver. It's got the ambi bolt release on it, and they're also going to throw in a ambi selector, your color choice of fashion colors. It's then the throws on the what they nickname unicorn tiers are you can drop it in the lower receiver. You can run it at a 90-degree throw, or you can run it at a 60-degree throw.
Cool. And so if someone wants to set their gun up just like yours, it looks like red is your choice of color. And do you like the 90 or the 60-degree throw?
Definitely 60. Definitely 60, because when you get a good purchase on the grip, that with the 60, on the right side, I'm right-handed, on the right side on the ambi, it doesn't dig down into the knuckle on your hand. It clears my hand.
Oh, cool. Well, excellent. So then if they want to make it just like yours, they're going to have to get one of those sweet new Hex Mag grips, because I'm looking at a picture of yours on Instagram here. It looks pretty sweet.
I've loved it. I ran it for the first time in a match today, and it's done great. I was concerned about, potentially being slippery from the grip that I went from before, but it hasn't been at all. It's been 95 degrees and I've been sweating. So it's been a champ.
Cool. So bringing it back to the giveaway, that's hugely generous of you and Seekins to put that together. So thank you very much for that. And so we'll do let's do 3gunshow.com/SeekinsMo, SeekinsMo, and doesn't currently exist, Mo. So I hear you typing out there. Don't look for it, but by the time it does, we'll have a good splash set up for that. And folks, enter your name and email, and we'll make that happen.
Sounds great.
So Mo, closing real quick here, MoShaw3gun.com. You're on Instagram, which is how I was first introduced to you at Instagram.com/Moses_Shaw.
Yes.
And we'll link all that up in the show notes. Anywhere else people can find you?
I'm on Tumblr, Facebook, Twitter. My Twitter tag is Guns and Moses Mo on Twitter. That's really about it. And then, of course, my website.
All right. So, Mo, just a couple last questions, and we'll let you go here. One, can you tell me about your most spectacular disqualification?
Absolutely. Well, there's actually two. So I hadn't been feeling well. I went to a club match up in Central Ohio, and it was I was finishing the last stage of the day, last firearm platform to clear, and I racked my pistol dropped the mag, and pulled the trigger, and ripped around right off into the ground in front of me. Yeah.
Oh.
So I had been feeling well, and then there was another one that there was this terrible, like, dump barrel thing that was kind of almost laid horizontal to the ground. And of course, we running with a 12 round tube, it was a short barrel. Well, there was this carpet, and I just got these really cool, because the cool shoes to wear are the Salomon Speed Cross. And
yes, official shoes.
Absolutely. And I got the Spike Cross at, that was Jesse Tischhauser's suggestion to get the Spike Cross, because he said, you can wear them. They're better in different conditions. But this particular stage had a piece of carpet because we had to go prone. And when I got up, those little carbide spikes in the bottom of it snagged on the carpet. So as I go tripping off the carpet, I dump my shotgun and kick it out of the barrel.
Oh man!
Kick it out of the barrel, and of course it hits the ground. And the gun, the gun was, I don't know, 48 hours old.
Oh, that's it. Oh man!
Yep, right in the gravel. So here's my brand new shotgun, and it just got, which is fine now, because now it's like scars, chick dig scars. So.
Yeah, now it just blends in with the rest,
absolutely.
Right? So Mo, what's the takeaway from those two DQs there?
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
always drop the mag first to be
Absolutely.
the first one, and then never listen to Tischhauser on shoe selection.
No, I still wear them. I love them. Just you got to, he did give me some wisdom and say, don't wear them on the hardwood floor in the house because your wife will kill you. But you got to watch them on carpet.
Awesome. Mo, where do you see the sport of 3-gun headed?
I think it's going to continue to grow exponentially. I think the prize table and some of the formats are going to need to change just because of the industry. But I think it's going to continue to grow, and it's going to continue to become more and more diverse.
If you could leave the audience with just one thought or one piece of advice, what would it be? Surround
yourself with excellent people in anything you do, not just 3-gun, anything that you want to achieve in.
God, that's great life advice and great 3-gun advice. Well, Mo, this has been awesome, man. I appreciate you reaching out and coming up with like an interesting topic that was way cool. I didn't have to do any of the heavy lifting. And thanks for joining me on the 3-gun show.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Dave.
I hope you enjoyed that interview with Mo Shaw of Team Seekins Precision. This interview was jam-packed full of useful information. I learned so much in this episode, and it's all good stuff as I start to look into advertising for the 3-gun show. And I know that you can use it too. Whether you're a beginner shooter and you're wondering how to conduct yourself in the range, mid-range shooter, maybe you're seeking out some sponsors, or, like I said, like an upper-level shooter and you're wondering how you can improve your game. Definitely a ton of takeaways from this. So, Mo, thank you so much for your generosity. Also, Mo, I know you're listening to this, so you owe me an 8x10 glossy, man. Just saying. Now, I want to announce the winner for the Team Geisler giveaway. Now, this is a prize package of $3,000 worth of gear that Jansen Jones put together. So this is stuff from Freedom Munitions, Extreme Bullets, ALG, Geisler, 511, Hexmag, Noveski, Nosler, Remington, and Optics Planet. Now, if you entered this contest, you better have liked Team Geisler on Facebook and Instagram. So the winner is Kelly Samsel. Our first lady winner on this. Kelly, congratulations. You won a ton of stuff here. I'm going to be getting in touch with you, and we'll start some shipping your way. If you didn't win the Team Geisler giveaway, that's totally fine, because Seekins Precision and Mo Shaw have put together a giveaway of an SBA 15 billet lower receiver and upper receiver and an ambidextrous safety giveaway. Now, this is 90 or 60 degree selector, the way Mo runs his. And again, this is ambidextrous lower, so you're going to have the controls on the left side if you need it, if you shoot wrong and stuff like that. But so this looks like some amazing stuff. Their attention to detail seems to be like top notch, and it's like $550 worth of stuff here. So if you want to win this, go ahead and enter the giveaway. It's 3gunshow.com/Seekinsmo, SEEKINSMO. And if you do win, obviously I have to pass a background check with Seekins, and they'll forward that to the FFL of your choice. Now, this giveaway is going to run for 2 weeks. It's going to end Monday, September 28th. So enter now. And in the last giveaway, we had like 216 entries and individual entries. And with the bonus entries of like sharing this with a friend, there was over 350 entries. So definitely a lot of popularity circulating around these entries. So enter early, enter often, and tell your friends. If you have any thoughts, feedback, or guest suggestions, you can email me. I'm Dave at 3gunshow.com. As always, please leave a review in iTunes. It only takes a minute, and it is huge for getting the show in front of shooters like you and I. Just visit 3gunshow.com/iTunes. If you like the show and you want to support the show, you can do so by using our affiliate link when you shop at Brownells. Just go to 3gunshow.com/Brownells and shop like normal. We earn a small commission on what you buy at no additional cost to you, and it helps to cover the cost of hosting, email list, Skype, and the like. Thank you so much for downloading, listening, and subscribing to the show. I'll catch you in the next episode.
If you are finished, unload, show clear.